allow me to introduce my colleague over in the Office of Student Financial Assistance, Rick Colon, to you. Rick is going to be presenting for a few minutes on some relevant financial aid information that's good info for all of you as prospective students. And at the end, we'll have a little bit of time that you can answer any or ask any questions that you have in the Q&A field. Again, we just ask you try to keep them relevant to the audience. The more relevant that they are, the more likely they are to be picked and answered live during the webinar. So Rick, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Luke. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rick Colon. I'm a senior financial aid counselor here at UCF. I've been with UCF for about 15 years now. And through that 15 years, I've learned a lot about what financial aid is and information that I can hopefully share with you and what UCF offers to you as a student. So basically what I'll be doing today is talking to you about the process here at UCF. What did you as a student, as parents, need to look out for to qualify and start applying for financial aid? So let's get started with that. It's a PowerPoint presentation. And there's a lot of thunderstorm going on here. So as mentioned before, do apologize if any interruptions going on and whatnot. So with that, let's get started. So. All right, so here's what we're going to learn about today. A few things, basically the financial aid process here at UCF, the types of aid that we have available to students at UCF, and finally, a few things to remember to make sure that you keep your aid every year until you obtain that degree. So the financial aid process here at UCF, basically to apply for the federal aid, you would need to submit the free application for federal student aid. This application becomes available every year, October 1st. We highly encourage students to go ahead and submit that FAFSA early. UCF has a UCF priority date of December 1st. If you submit your FAFSA on or before that date, you will be given more consideration for other types of financial aid that we have available. For example, the UCF grants, the Florida Student Assistance Grant, a lot of these awards, a lot of students are eligible for it, but do not qualify because they submit the FAFSA one day late. The earlier you can submit that FAFSA, the better you have, the more opportunities you have to be considered for those awards. While you might submit that FAFSA in early, no financial aid is guaranteed, but submitting it in after that priority date limits your possibility of being considered for those awards. The FAFSA is going to ask you for the federal school code, and I believe on the FAFSA you can choose up to 10 schools where you want your information to be sent. So go ahead and use UCF. UCF federal school code is 003954. When you're filing the FAFSA for this current year, for example, if you started this fall, the FAFSA is going to ask for information from 2 years past, information regarding a household income. So you would start using your 2018 tax returns. For students who are coming next fall, all you seniors who are coming in next fall, the new FAFSA becomes available this year. October 1st of this year becomes available for the 2021-2022 school year. You're going to use your 2019 tax return information. You want to go ahead and submit that every single year. One FAFSA is not going to do it for you for the rest of the time that you are here. So it's very important that you submit that FAFSA every year and try to get it to us prior to December 1st as best as you can. The official website is right there, as you can see on your screen, studentaid.gov, and apply for FAFSA. It'll come right up, and you'll see a screen that looks similar to this. If you've never created a login before, then you would click on Start Here. If you created a login before, then of course you would click on where it says Returning Users, and you can go ahead and update the information from previous years. I would recommend that even if you're a senior now, October 1st hasn't come around, create yourself an account now so that you can get familiar with the information that they are asking from you, so that when October 1st comes around, You already know what you got to do. Submit that in there quickly, and so that we can get that FAFSA from you and start seeing what you are eligible for. Students who are coming to UCF. A lot of parents like to ask, what is the tuition? How much is it going to cost us to come to UCF? Well, we've done what's called a budget cost for this current fall and spring. If you're an in-state student, a Florida resident, to come to UCF and you're not planning on staying at home, it's going to cost you about $22,424. That includes tuition, room, board, transportation, books, personal expenses. And as you can see there, it's roughly about a total about $22,424. If you're not a Florida resident, then it's going to cost you a little bit more. If you notice there, the only difference that's going to be a lot higher is the tuition and fees. Everything else relatively remains the same. Your room and board, transportation, books, and personal expenses, all that seems to be the same price. It's where your tuition, that's where the biggest change is going to occur. So what type of aid do we have available that you, the student, can use to assist you with that cost of attendance? We have quite a few aids out there. We begin with scholarships. We have merit scholarship, and we have non-need-based financial aid scholarships. Florida Bright Futures, the UCF Pegasus, some of the colleges and majors might be offering scholarships as well. And private, for example, a lot of the students right now, you probably heard about FastWeb. You're probably going out there and you're applying for those scholarships. Those scholarships can be used over here at UCF as well. We have grants. These are need-based aid. With the exception of the federal Pell Grant, the FSEOG, the FSAG, the UCF grant, for example, those are the awards that I explained to you earlier that you need to submit your FAFSA early to be considered for these awards. The FSAG and the UCF grant usually range between $1,200 to $1,500 a piece. And I've seen a lot of students who are eligible again for these, but do not qualify because they submitted one day late. So students, parents, October 1st, make sure you get that in there and get that in early by October 1st, or December 1st, I should say. The work study is a need-based aid. Not all students qualify for this, but to qualify for this aid as well, you got to submit that FAFSA early. Every student possibly on this panel today, on this webinar today, will be eligible for at least an unsubsidized loan. And I'll talk to you a little bit more along the way as we go on this presentation. But an unsubsidized loan basically is where the government does not waive the interest for you while you're in school. If you're a Florida Bright Future recipient, understand that the Florida Department of Education, or the Office of Student Financial Assistance, OSFA, manages who is eligible and who is not. They determine that eligibility. When you are admitted to UCF, depending on how you filed your application to come UCF, the system automatically looks at your SATs, your ACTs, your community hours, and so forth. And we estimate that based on this information, you might qualify for this particular Bright Futures. But that is only an estimate. To determine if you're actually eligible for the Florida Bright Futures, you want to make sure that you stay in touch with your high school guidance counselor and you stay in contact with the Florida Bright Futures website. And you can actually search that online, or you can call them if you need be, which is 888-207-827-2004. That's the number you can call. You must identify UCF as the school of choice. Just because you are awarded, you've been selected for that Bright Futures, if you don't inform OSFA that you want that information to be sent over to UCF, we will never receive that. Bright Futures will pay based per credit hour. The Florida Academic, for example, pays 100% of your tuition. The Florida Medallion will pay 75% of your tuition. If you are a Florida academic recipient, you're expected to receive about $212.28 per credit. If you are a Florida Medallion, you will be expected to receive about $159.61 per credit, or 75% of the tuition. Again, how you get chosen or determined by that depends on the Florida Department of Education. So make sure you reach out again to either your high school guidance counselor or stay in touch with OSFA for that information. And as I said earlier, there's two types of loans that a student will be eligible for. Those two types of loans is the subsidized loan. The subsidized loan, basically, the government weighs the interest for you while you're in school. The unsubsidized loan, that is the one where the government does not waive the interest for you while you're in school. Neither one of these loans does a student begin repaying them back until after they graduate or 6 months after they graduate. As that time that they begin repaying the entire loan. Every month they will receive a bill in the mail, and that's when the students begins repaying those. But the difference between the subsidized and the unsubsidized, again, subsidized, the government waives the interest for you. Unsubsidized, government does not waive the interest for you. Not everybody will be eligible for the subsidized, but mostly everybody will definitely be eligible for the unsub. Now, as a first time in college student freshman, you will be eligible to receive for that first fall and spring $5,500. Your second year here, it's about $6,500. Your third and your fourth year would be about $7,500. If you do the math and all you do is take out loans before you graduate, you're going to be about $31,000 in student loan debt. So to help with that, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that, we will have scholarship information that you, the student, can start as early as today to apply for. If, however, you aren't able to obtain any other scholarship, but as a parent, you believe that you would need to assist your students, your child to come to the university, and the financial aid that they're eligible for may not be enough, you as a parent can request a Parent Plus loan. This Parent Plus loan is based on the parent's credit. If it is approved, then we can go ahead and certify that loan for up to the student's cost of attendance minus any other financial aid that's already been applied. If the parent is denied the Parent Plus loan, then we can offer the student an additional unsubsidized loan for up to $2,500. And again, for that to happen, the parent has to be denied. And this is the website that you would go to, the ucf.edu financial/aid types loans Parent Plus. All the information that you need, the who, the what, how it works, how to apply, and all that would be on that website. So I encourage you to take a look at that and see if you have any questions or whatnot. You can definitely reach out to us for that assistance on that. One of the greatest quotes that I like to go out there when it comes to um, the rational or the relative information that I'm about to give you about scholarships is Thomas Edison once said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time." Basically, imagine if Thomas Edison had given up on his 99th try and trying to create the light bulb, well, we all be sitting in the dark. So he gave it that one more shot, and it was that one more try that we're able to see in the dark. So basically, students, as well as parents, I want to give you some advice when it comes to scholarship. These scholarship websites that are out there, whether it's FastWeb, whether it's the business of corporations, your community, or your religious organizations, go out there, ask for these scholarships, go out there and apply to these scholarships. There is so much money out there that is being unclaimed. It is a little bit harder to get because you have to write essays, you got to write, you got to do homework, or you got to do some kind of research or whatnot. And it does take up a little bit of your time. And I understand as students today, you guys have a lot more priorities than having to get some free money. I think they call that TikTok now, right? But take a little bit of time, folks. Take a little bit of time and go to these website organizations. As a matter of fact, here at UCF, we created a site. It's called Access to Opportunities, or A2O. As a student right now, you don't even have to be a UCF student. I would encourage you to go to our website. On this website, and you can find the link on our UCF financial aid website. Go onto this website, claim the access. On there, what you're going to see is a website that looks similar to this. You would click on where it reads opportunities. From there, you're going to select external. And then from there, you'll be able to see a whole list of scholarships. Currently, there's about 200 plus scholarships on this website. I encourage you students, Go out there once a week, every week, and see what you can apply for. These sites are constantly being updated. Don't look at the scholarship and assume that it's not for you. I'll give you a very quick example. Let's assume that there's a scholarship out there. It's called the, I don't know, the Bass, the Gulf Association is giving out a $3,000 scholarship. Well, I don't play golf, and therefore, because I don't play golf, I'm not going to apply for it. Skip. Let me go to the next one. When I click on that scholarship, all the requirement is asking from me is saying that I have to be a full-time university student. That is all that's not asking me if I have to be a type of gender, a race, or anything like that. It just says be enrolled in a full-time university student as a full-time university as a full-time student at a university, and submit the application. There are hundreds of scholarships out there that we look at the title and assume that it's not for us, and we skip over. And it's going to take some time. You're going to apply for 10, 20 will probably come back and say you're not eligible for it or we did not choose you. And it can get discouraging, but stick to it. Just like Thomas Edison, don't give up. Go out there, keep trying for these scholarships, and I can almost guarantee you that you will be receiving scholarships out there. I had a lot of successful students that have been very successful on this website alone. So definitely, students, check it out, see what you can apply for, and go out there again once a week, every week, and apply to as many as often as you can. All this financial aid can disperse on time, but in order for that to happen, if once you become a knight, you want to make sure that you activate your knight's email. That knight's email is very, very important because that's how we're going to communicate to you all the information that is pertinent to your financial aid and UCF. Anything on your financial aid to-do list. There's going to be a list on your My UCF portal once you're admitted that if you have to turn into our office. Make sure you monitor that at least once a week, every week until your financial aid disperses. Anything on that to-do list, it has to be completed no later than 60 days before the beginning of semester so that your financial aid can disperse in time. So some of these forms that some of these documents that we may require from you, it's called the verification. There's a form. Roughly 32% of the students are selected for the verification process, which currently takes a very long time to complete. As a matter of fact, it's about 6 to 8 weeks. But the longer you wait to turn these documents in, the longer it's going to take for your financial aid to get ready. You can turn this in through our Dynamic Forms website. You can upload the documents through our website using the upload tool. You can convert all the information that you have as PDF and use this website here to go ahead and upload those documents. So that way you don't have to come into the office to drop off your documents. You don't have to fax them. You don't have to email them. It's very, very simple. We've made it very convenient for you to go ahead and just scan them and then attach them to this upload tool and submit those to us. And this is what it looks like basically. When you click on there, you'll see the information. You're going to fill it out. First name, last name, your UCF ID, and your email. And then from there, you'll click on where it says drop files. Click here to upload. You would click there, select the files from your computer, attach them, and then submit the files. We will get that, and then we'll update your files accordingly. In order for you to get to your financial aid to disperse, you have to be enrolled in a minimum of at least 6 credit hours or more. Your loans won't disperse, your bright futures won't disperse. Any of those financial aid that you have out there will not disperse unless you're meeting the minimum eligibility criteria. Visit our website. You can do a search, UCF program eligibility chart. It'll take you out there so that you can see what type of program you might be eligible for and what you need, what are the minimum hours that you need to go ahead and ensure that your financial aid is intact and that you keep the financial aid and that disperse your financial aid. No financial aid disperses until about the second week of classes. So keep that in mind. So in the event that you see that your tuition fees are coming up and your financial aid hasn't dispersed, tuition fees are not due until the second week of classes. We don't disperse until the second week of classes as well. We usually disperse in time before fees are due. But again, for that to happen, You got to make sure, students, that you're academically engaged in the classes. How's that? Basically, when you attend that first week of classes, your professors will take attendance, in other words, either through web courses, through a chat, however it is, your professor will take your attendance and your professor will let us know that you have been attending in your classes. Once we confirm your academic activity, we'll update your financial aid and then we'll disperse those financial aids out to the student that you are owed, and it'll go directly towards what you owe. Basically, it'll start with your tuition and fees. If you're living on campus, whatever financial aid you have in excess will roll over to your on-campus housing. Any financial aid that you have in excess or any payments that you made in excess that you have nothing else that you owe to the university will then be refunded back to you in the form of either a check in the mail to whatever mailing address you have on the MyUCF, or B, it'll be directly deposited into whatever bank account you, the student, sets up through your MyUCF. And that is probably the preferred method that we advise our students to use. Direct deposit, you'll get a refund if you're eligible for the refund. You'll get that refund within 3 to 5 business days, whereas a check in the mail, you might get that mail 7 to 14 days. You might be still using an old address. That's where it's going to get sent. You move, and now you got to wait another 14 days for that check to get forwarded to the new address. So using the direct deposit is probably going to be, it's the one we actually highly advise students to use. If you have financial aid in excess of your tuition and fees, your tuition and fees will be automatically deferred. Basically, what that means is that instead of owing the tuition and fees on that second week of classes, your tuition will be pushed back another 30, 60 days. So if you have anything else that's pending to get complete, you don't have to worry, because if you have financial aid, and that again, that financial aid is more than what you owe, your tuition will be pushed back to a much later date, giving you time to go ahead and complete whatever it is that you have to complete. Because financial aid doesn't disperse until the second week of classes or maybe later, you know that you are receiving some type of financial aid coming back to you. You want to use that financial aid as a method to pay for your books. But if your financial aid doesn't come in until the second or third week of classes, your first week of classes, you already need your books. We have what's called a short-term advance. This form becomes available usually about 30 days before the semester begins. This form is on our website, and all you have to do is make sure that everything on the to-do list is complete. Go ahead, complete the form, submit the form online to us, and if we get it, once we get it, if you have enough financial aid, then we can approve that short-term advance for up to $600. And basically what that is what we're giving you $600 in advance of your anticipated financial aid refund. When your financial aid disperses, if you are receiving $600 as a refund, you won't get that refund because that refund will be used to repay back the short-term advance. Another option that you have, students, is called the textbook purchase program. Basically the same thing as the short-term advance, but no form to fill out. You actually go onto your MyUCF account, you go ahead and drop down to the bottom, scroll down to the bottom under the student self-service. There's an option that's called opt-in book purchase program. Click on that. Within 24 to 48 hours after it's been approved, you can use your UCF ID card to purchase your books at the UCF main campus bookstore or at the Rosen. You can call in and try speaking with the managers there as well to purchase your books. Again, that can be approved for up to $600 in advance as well. Again, a few reminders, students. The FAFSA becomes available October 1st of every year. Make sure that you keep that, put it on your calendar as a reminder. There's no reason for you, there's no reason to wait for the parent either for any tax information because you're using prior year or 2 years behind of taxes. So go ahead and get that done so that you can be considered for the financial aid. Pay attention to your my UCF account, to your Knight's email, any communications out there. Whether you've been admitted or not, you're probably going to receive some communications from us. Keep an eye out for that so that you can submit these documents on time, so you can submit the paperwork on time, so that you can have everything in on time. Visit our website. Any concerns, questions, it's probably already answered on there. We have a little new feature. His name is Nightbot. Basically, you ask him a question and he's going to do his best to go ahead and answer that. You can also contact us as well through our website or through our email. I'll give you that in a second. Most importantly, students, though, please go out there to these scholarships, check those out, and apply to these scholarships. Again, I could almost guarantee you that if you stick to it, you will be graduating with a check in your hand. It can happen, but you got to stick to it. You can't just give up on one day. But there's plenty of money out there. Give it a shot. I wish you much success on all of this, folks. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This is our contact information. Any questions, any concerns, we are available. We might be remote, we might be virtual, but we are available. Much success to you guys, because your success is our success. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe.
Thank you, Rick. And we have a few minutes where we'll be able to answer some questions that you guys will have. Rick, let me start off by asking this. And just a reminder for all of our participants today, if you do have any questions, be sure to utilize the Q&A section of our webinar today, not necessarily the chat function. The Q&A will allow us to best address any questions that you may have then. So Rick, first question for you was, we got a question from a first-time in college applicant that asked, so for the fall of 2022, I'm a junior right now in high school. Would I be allowed to use my 2020 income tax return for the FAFSA?
For the 2022, again, it's always going to use 2 years prior. So currently, we're using 2019. Next year, which is the 2022, you're going to be using the 2020 tax information, this year's information, if you will. As a junior, that'll be the following year that you're looking at. So it'll be the 2021, more than likely, because the new FAFSA becomes available. This is tricky. Hold on, bear with me. So October 1st of next year, you're going to be using 2019, 2020, 2021 tax information, basically, because next year will be 2021, yes. So by that time, yeah, that is right. Wow, that was...
I know it makes you do math in your head on the
Yeah,
phone.
so 2021, yep.
All right, so the next question we had was, if my family took a financial hit due to COVID-19, would I be able to provide the previous year's tax information and then update it as they file new taxes then?
Great question. And yes, what happens, again, we do look at 2 years prior. There are special circumstances or unexpected circumstances, such as COVID, where the household might have a loss of income, loss of a parent, or whatever the fact that might be that affected that household income. What we do is we advise students to reach out to us and request what's called a professional judgment. And this is on our website. The students can actually go out there and look at the professional judgment webpage. It gives you the information of what it is and how to go applying for it. And basically what we do is we'll look at that moment, what your current circumstances is compared to those of 2 years prior. So yes, we can do that, and it's called the professional judgment.
Great. Well, the next question we received was, I submitted my FAFSA application to UCF, but where can I see if I got approved for financial aid?
Great. You don't have to wait. No student has to wait until their FAFSA is received at any university. As soon as you submit your FAFSA, you get a student aid report, or SAR. It's basically a receipt of what you submitted to the universities. And on that SAR, you will be able to view what type of financial aid you might be eligible for and how much. Basically, if you're eligible for the Pell Grant and the loans, you'll be able to see it there. Again, it's called the Student Aid Report.
All right, so the next question we have pertains to Bright Futures, which is always a big topic at
Yes, it is.
UCF. Many of our students are eligible for Bright Futures. But the question was, are SAT and ACT scores still going to be required to be considered for the Florida Bright Futures program if I'm a current senior?
As of last week, yes. So Bright Futures is managed by the state. And as I said earlier during the presentation, your best option in this case is reaching out to Bright Futures. Their number is 888-824-2004. Um, and hopefully they'll put those out there. You'll get it. But if not, it's on our website. Definitely out there. You can check that out as well. But your best option is to reach out to them because they have all the most recent up-to-date information.
All right, so the next question also pertains to Bright Futures about what GPA do I need to maintain to keep earning my Bright Futures scholarship?
Great question. Great question. This is good. Bright Futures, depending on which one you have, is it the academic? Bright Futures, once you become a Bright Futures recipient, the academic, this is the one that pays 100% of your tuition, requires you to maintain a 3.0 GPA every single year by the end of spring. So between the fall and the spring, you have to maintain a 3.0 GPA. The Florida Medallion, the one that pays 75%, requires that you maintain a 2.75 GPA every single year. At the end of spring, we send your GPA information to the state to let them know that this is what your GPA is for the year. And they make the final decision as to yay or nay on that. But 3.0 for the academic, 2.75 for the medallion.
So next question kind of relates to Bright Futures and also Florida Prepaid, but if I have Florida Bright Futures and my parents purchase Florida Prepaid for me, how are those applied and in which order?
Well, usually Florida Prepaid, and the Florida Prepaid, I do need to make note of this, is managed by the Office of Student Accounts. And hopefully we'll share that number with you later. Definitely, there's really nothing that a student or parent needs to do with the Florida Prepaid. But Florida Prepaid is usually billed first. Immediately after that, Bright Futures gets billed after that. Subsequently, any other types of financial aid that you might have will then get dispersed and applied towards that. But prepaid gets billed first, then Bright Futures. If you as a parent wishes not to use the Florida prepaid because you see that the student has more than enough financial aid and you want to save the prepaid for a later date, then you would need to reach out to the Office of Student Account Services so that can give you instructions on that. Do you want me to share that number with them, Luke, and then someone can type it in later?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Or you
Sure.
can just refer them back to your website.
Yep, refer to that. So yeah, on our website, you'll see it there, 407-823-2433. It'll be option number 4 once you hit the prompts or hear the prompts. I'm so busy hitting everything here on the keyboard. Once you hear the prompts, and then let them know you want more information from the Florida prepaid. But basically, as long as your son's and daughter's information, social, birth date, all match up, Florida prepaid is billed automatically. There's nothing that you need to turn into their office.
And Rick, that's a good point that you make, that we get a lot of questions in our undergraduate admissions office this time of year for entering students that submitted applications, possibly maybe through the Common App, and omitted their social security number. It's important to keep in mind that we're able to pull in information of eligibility for Florida Prepaid and for the Florida Bright Futures program according to your social security number, and the two have to match up. So that's always key, because if you apply and you omit that number, you then at a later date have to supply us with that information in official form of documentation so we can add that information to your financial aid information then as well. So I know we run into a lot of problems with that with entering students this time of year right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So another question we have for you, Rick, was how do we, if our parents' work situation is different than it was 2 years ago, and they haven't filed new taxes, like what information do we need to furnish then that would update our financial situation? How would a student go about doing that?
Yeah, and again, that's the professional judgment. Um, what we're going to do is we're going to get estimates because we're going to look at estimates for this year, for the 2020 as an example. Not anyone has filed taxes yet for this year because they don't do it until next year in April, if you will. So what we'll do is we'll ask for an estimate. We'll probably ask for W-2s, some type of information that can tell us what is the current status as far as income for that household. But to get that started, you would have to do the professional judgment. Um, and that process begins at our office. And again, it is on our website. I would encourage you students go out there. Just again, you can search on our website, UCF Professional Judgment, and you'll see it on there. And we'll definitely take a look at that.
Here's a great question. So if my parents share custody of me 50% of the time, they each get me for 50%, which one of them completes the FAFSA on my behalf?
Well, that depends on who got you the Xbox One last. No, I'm kidding. um, Basically, that is a decision that is entirely up to you and the parent, the student. If it's 50-50 across the board, um, uh, there's really it would be the parent that usually gives you the most support that previous year. Um, and there is always a way of determining that. And I would again, it'll be up entirely. That is the discussion that has to be up to the parents and the student on that. I'll get more details on that because I know there was a recent update, but it's usually the student and parents' decision on making up on that.
Great. So next question was, are there other scholarships available besides Bright Futures within your office? And I think you may have addressed that earlier when you were talking about the A2O program that you offered.
Correct, right. So access to opportunity, a great resource. And we do update that every single, almost every single week. And it's constantly being updated. And these windows of opportunities, if you will, are very quick and they go very quick. But again, there's over 200 scholarships on there, and I would encourage you to go out there and check those out. Check with your own college or department. FastWeb, huge, huge resource. As early as ninth grade, students can start applying for scholarships. So definitely give it a shot. There is money to be found out there.
So we got a lot of questions from you guys pertaining to merit scholarships when you apply for admission. And in our next presentation hosted by one of my colleagues, we'll actually be going over more information about merit scholarships for both Florida residents and non-Florida residents. And so that'll be a little more pertinent to the next session. Better to ask those questions then Rick can address them right now for you guys. If you, Rick, next question was, if you are undecided and you've applied to multiple schools, should I apply for financial aid to each of my colleges or only pick the top one?
Well, that's the great thing about the FAFSA is I believe you have up to 10, 12 choices that you can list on there. So FAFSA gives you that room, that flexibility, if you will, to submit the FAFSA to all of these schools that you might be interested in. Now, the school that admits you will then be able to pull that FAFSA in. If you're not admitted to the university, we won't be able to pull in that information until then. But again, the student aid report, you'll be able to see what type of financial aid you might be eligible for, regardless of what school you go to. So if you decide to come to, um, uh, is there another university in Florida? I'm not sure, but if you decide to come to UCF and then change your mind and go out to another university, if you're eligible for the Pell Grant, here at UCF, that should go across the board because it is federal and that shouldn't change. Each school, its individual school, has their own pocket of institutional aid, if you will, like the UCF grants. Those require other requirements, for example, the UCF priority date. So you might be eligible for it here, and you may not be eligible for that grant at another school. The same goes true the other way around. If you go to another school that has their own institutional financial aid, you will not receive that aid here. But if you're eligible for the Pell, it's across the board.
We received another Bright Futures question that was asking what was the renewal requirement to maintain Bright Futures eligibility? What GPA is needed to keep earning the Bright Futures Award every year?
Absolutely, yeah. And again, the Florida academic, you need to maintain a 3.0 GPA. The Florida medallion, you need to maintain a 2.75 GPA. Each scholarship, each academic, the academic and the medallion requires that whatever courses, however many courses you enroll in, you need to complete. Now, Bright Future says as long as you enroll in 6 credit hours or more, we're going to help fund your education. But whatever you enroll in, you need to complete. Otherwise, you will lose Bright Futures forever. Your GPA, if you're a Florida academic and you fall below the 3.0 for that first year, Bright Future will say we'll put you on the Florida medallion. And as long as you bring back that GPA during that second year classes, they can bump you back up. But if you don't complete enough hours, if you're short on hours, it's gone forever.
Rick, the next question was, are the merit scholarships available through financial aid only for Florida residents, or are they also available for non-Florida residents as well?
Well, like I said, the access to opportunities is for anyone and everyone. Admissions, undergraduate admissions, a lot of the departments, our office might have some merit scholarships, and those are specifically for UCF students. Once they're admitted, they'll be offered this scholarship, if you will. But any merit scholarship that you might find on access to opportunities or fast web, if you will, as long as the donor says you can use that at any other institution or university, you're welcome to do that. But the UCF merit scholarship, if it has UCF in front of it, you have to be a UCF student. But any student can try to apply for it if they're coming to UCF.
A follow-up question to that would be a relevant question regarding transfer students. We received one that was asking if these scholarships through financial aid are only available to first-time in college applicants, or are they also available to transfer students?
No, that's for everyone. Absolutely, a great question, and don't hesitate. You know, go out there. Like I said earlier, don't judge the book by its cover. Just because you think it says freshman year college, don't assume that you have to be a freshman. Click on the requirements, read the requirements, and if the requirements say that you have to be what this says, then by all means don't apply. But if it doesn't, go ahead and apply for it. Scholarships out there for every single student. We don't section it out for a particular student. It's for all students to apply.
Rick, one question we got was, when is the actual student aid report released to FAFSA applicants then? When are those published?
Usually it's immediately, but some students I've heard they gotta wait a couple of days before the student aid report becomes available. FAFSA notifies the student via email or whatever email they use to sign into FAFSA. Hey, your student aid report or your SAR is available. Click here to look, find out more details. If you're unable to obtain that information, I would encourage you to reach out to FAFSA and help them guide you through that and see what it is. Make sure, as Luke said earlier, your social security and your birth date information is accurate. Even though the FAFSA seems to be a little bit simple, sometimes it could be intimidating. Take your time. Take your time. It is about a 15, 20-minute process, but take your time. Better to do it once and get it all right than after that first submission.
All right, well, you froze up a little bit there. Maybe it was just my internet. The
It was
other question was,
mine.
do you know how many community service hours are required to earn the academic level of Bright Futures?
Great question. You would have to reach out to the Florida Department of Education. Florida Bright Futures will tell you exactly. As a matter of fact, your high school guidance counselor can give you that information as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many of the Bright Futures questions are always kind of tricky for us to answer just because UCF doesn't necessarily determine eligibility for those awards. And that's to Rick's point, where a great resource is your college counselor or your guidance counselor at your school. And then also there's a lot of good information on the website through the state of Florida for Bright Futures then as well.
Yeah.
Um, we got a couple questions about the application process. We'll be covering those in the next question or the next webinar when undergraduate admissions hosts that. Can I, well, let me jump around a little bit. Let's see. Other,
Well,
oh, here's a good question, Rick. If I have a step parent and they are the primary income person for my household, do I use them uh, to file my
you
FAFSA with
look
that information?
for that.
Oh, sorry. Say that again, Rick. I apologize.
We lose internet. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now. Or can you hear me?
Okay.
I
Yes,
think
good.
the thunderstorms
My
are
computer
rolling
says I'm
through
not
your area
connected.
now. No, I was asking if my parent is or the primary income earner is a step parent in my household, even though they don't have legal custody of me, are they the person that
Yes, it
should be
is.
doing FAFSA?
So basically, FAFSA is going to ask you for your legal, biological, if you will, parent. And if your biological parent is married, then you're going to use that income as well. Has to be on that, if that makes sense. Did I come through?
Yeah, no, I believe, yeah, we did get that information. Thank you.
Great.
Um, Rick, another question we got was for international students. What kind of scholarship opportunities are available through financial aid if I'm an international student? I think Rick was freezing up a little bit on us there.
You there?
Yep. Let me repeat the
Okay.
question again. Sorry. I was
Sure.
just I was just asking if I'm an international student, are there scholarships and financial aid available for me to apply for through your office?
Clear, right? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, it looks like you're still freezing up a little bit. All right. Well, let's move on a little bit, and hopefully Rick will. Are you back?
I keep saying that I am. Or am I back? Am I
So
back?
we'll try one more time. Sorry, and I joke because
I
the
did, and
thunderstorm
I
through my house, and I think it's rolling through yours now. Then too.
yeah, and I did get the question. I did get the question.
Okay.
Uh, so just real quick, definitely, as an international student, it's a little bit tougher to get financial assistance, if you will, through the federal government. There's absolutely no assistance, but you can use the access to opportunities. Also, UCF Global is a great resource that you can use to go ahead and speak to them about.
All right. Let's.
Scholarship opportunity.
And I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up here then, and we're going to take a quick 15-minute intermission, and then we'll bring up my colleague from undergraduate admissions to provide some information to you guys about new changes to our application process for admission at UCF, and then we'll also spend a little bit of time and talk about merit scholarships, then address some of those questions as well. So we'll allow you guys a quick 15-minute break. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. It was great information provided to our students.
Well, much success and go Knights.
All right, good nights. And we will be back shortly, guys. Thank you so much.